What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 10 of Spike Down with Vansili and Roy. And as you can tell, I'm still stuck in hotel jail with the best lighting ever. Roy, for once, you have better lighting than me, but despite good or bad lighting, your face is always going to be more beautiful than mine.
Yeah, I really like your new Nokia webcam you got going on. It looks beautiful on you. Makes you look great.
Wow, bro! I just said you're more beautiful than me. You didn't even take that compliment. Are you not? Are you a person that doesn't like to take compliments?
Yeah, I can't take it. It's too much for me. I'd rather talk about Valorant.
Let's do that then. Let's just talk about Valorant then. We had some interesting games that started over the week, actually, that just went by, especially with the new patch going into 8.11. When we discussed things last week here, Roy, we were saying, there's probably going to be a lot of teams here that are going to try to shift towards a new meta, and then some teams might be falling behind, and maybe some teams still not believing in the changes of Neon and ISO. So I actually want to dive a little bit deeper into that one a little bit more, with some of the teams that actually did try to operate around Neon and ISO, and we'll talk about that first game right now. It's Winthrop University against OXG. They tried to do... For Winthrop's side, at least, not only just use Neon or just use ISO that we've seen on VCT this week, if you've been watching, but trying to use both at the same time against Oxygen Esports. Yes. I mean, to be honest, like the map on Lotus, it feels like it makes sense. I want you to talk to me about at least like their subs and stuff like that. If you still see like some value into using both of these both of these agents for the map, and what's your real take on it?
I actually do like the Neon ISO, to be honest. I think it has some potential. I just don't know about the Breach solo initiator with that composition. I almost feel like they might have been better off with like a Gecko, just so they have like some kind of pop power besides like just stuns. And obviously information gathering helps a ton. But yeah, just quick anecdote. I actually played Premier yesterday night for finals in the Western Conference. And we were playing Lotus as our last map. No, we actually lost in the finals to like these players I've never even seen in ranked. And they were running Neon, ISO, and Gecko. And it was actually insane. But they weren't playing it like you would think. Like they weren't just locking it in and running it down. They were like taking map control. They were like util bombing sites. Like it was actually kind of sick. And I could kind of see the vision with Winthrop University. I could almost see what they were trying to cook. But I think Oxygen was too fundamentally sound, to be honest. And they're just a little bit too comfortable with the old meta comps.
Yeah, I think if anything, they let the defensive side slip if it comes down to that Lotus map. I think on paper, it still kind of looks really good. When you're talking about that, yes, there's maybe no scans, but there's still good flashes of the Breach. And there's also a lot of good stall, though, with the Neon and the Breach together. And the ISO playing solo towards the C site, I think it makes sense. I know we've seen Talon, for example, ban use ISO with an op on Icebox. I think it's very similar where you could have an ISO op on C side and just lock that down and utilize double tap at your best moments to make sure that you could just anchor that side, while who's going to be moving around the map and trying to fight would be that Breach and that Neon. So they did a lot of these 1-3-1 setups. So you could also try to do like vulnerability combinations towards mount control, and then you could play retake towards the A site. But that was the issue. They weren't playing retake towards the A site on Lotus, and on top of that, they weren't adding enough pressure on the defense, in my opinion, that it gave a lot of room for Oxygen Esports to work with around that map on Lotus. They could go towards B, they could fake back, they could rotate back, and and especially when you're saying when you're not playing with a Gecko or a Fade or something in the Copper Winthrop to try to find information, it's only going to be on your ISO peeking out and getting punished, or your Cypher playing inside the site instead of retake and dying, and you have util to stall. So I think the game plan could have been refined where it could have made it a little bit closer, but outside of that, I think that was the biggest pain point, I think, to the loss of that map. But they tried to bring that out on Sunset as well, if I'm not mistaken here, Roy. And I want to know what you thought about the Sunset, at least, in that comp.
On Bind, you mean?
Sorry, Bind. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Neon is completely playable on that map, to be honest. I'm not entirely sold on the ISO on that map. I do think it has its uses, like the vulnerability. Okay, the vulnerability to use as a stall on defense side is actually low-key kind of OP. Because like you can, it's okay, they're running up short A, you just send your vulnerability, and now everyone is spamming, right? It's like the spams are actually what's really the harm is like you take double damage. So even if you get hit by one bullet, that's still that's half your HP gone, just like by one stray bullet.
Imagine that with an Odin,
because you're vulnerable.
Imagine that with an Odin on short A.
The Neon. I wanted to see that so bad. The ISO vulnerable into the Neon Odin. Oh my God!
Yeah,
break the game.
that could have been something that could be used. but that's the thing too. At least I'll commend Winthrop University for trying to pull that out a little bit earlier when the patch just started. Whilst as for example in VCTs they had like an extra week to prep and stuff like that to really try to get a nice formula on how you could elevate and take advantage of the ISO and the neon. Just I don't know if you guys saw the clips of jogging mode, but that was kind of sick over the weekend. But if not, I think if they want to continue with that plan, though, there might be a possibility. I mean, we'll go into predictions when we have a chance, but if they have actually refined and checked VODs and made sure that they understood like what are the real pros and cons of those agent tweaks, then I'm sure they're going to be able to bounce back. But at least for now, it just seems like it was just an easy that victory, right? A nice little 2 on that one. But we'll go into another game here that's a little bit more standard of what we saw. Maybe seeing a little bit more Deadlock, actually. Deadlock continues to be a very, very useful, I guess, as a composition, for lack of better words to use right now. But she's often used still in challengers, and this time for M80 against Fluffy Aimers, where M80, yes, they maybe dropped a map at the very beginning against Fluffy Aimers, but it almost feels like this is like the M80 way now, right? They're always going to play this comeback and win the series 2-1. But I want to know what you thought about the series overall from M80.
Yeah, is M80 the C9 of challengers? They can't win their maps.
Okay, wait. Elaborate.
What's happening?
Elaborate.
You know how Cloud9 can't win their first maps ever?
Yeah.
It's like they've lost like what 5 out of the last 6 first maps they've played. Yeah. It almost feels like and maybe it might just be that, or maybe they just can't
even
win
today
2-0s. Yeah.
As we record this today, they just played against G2, and I was like, wait, they're about to win a set here, and then they just lost 13-11. So maybe they continue to be the C9 curse, unfortunately, here for M80 side. So M80, the challengers of C9, I could see that. I could see that, and you're definitely starting to see as well. Like, yes, there's still a little bit of pain points for M80, but I think overall you're starting to see some sort of synergy for this M80 squad, especially with Net coming into the roster, with Xander finding good calls now for the team. Yeah, being the IGL, and then actually you have your Koala Noobs and Nismo and shooting forward, and BCJ is doing a good job too.
Yeah,
so I think
BCJ's
overall
really stepped up, by the way.
Exactly. I think the team looks good. If we're going to do a pulse of this team now in week number 4, it's just that unfortunately they're not the M80 of last season, right? Which is okay.
Yep.
It's okay to be compared to last season and realize that you've lost some firing power and maybe a little bit of brains here with John Cute and EU. But I still think that overall they have the right puzzle pieces to still try to or still able to improve so that they could fight in the mid pack and do a deep run in playoffs.
Absolutely. From my perspective, to me, I know I'm kind of comparing these teams to tier 1 teams, but to me, M80 is actually probably, in terms of style, the closest to G2 because they don't really need a single star player to pop off for them, right? Like they don't really need that anymore. They're kind of they're pretty much all insane players as long as they're playing together, as long as they play the fundamentals, as long as they stick to their game. I think they're going to be fine, to be honest. I think it's a bit of a rocky road. And then like recent roster swaps into complete meta change is probably a big challenge for the IGL and the coaches and all the players. So, I mean, I think they're doing fine, all things
definitely. Yeah, if anything, like they'll probably have to work on a little bit more of that synergy. I think there is going to be. I have seen a little bit more like attempts to do heroic plays or players that have no choice but to do heroic plays to pull their pants up and carry the team over to the next round. So hopefully that's going to get ironed out going into week number 5. But at least for now, it's showing promise at least, right? Where I don't think. We should be harping on M80 as much in week 1 as we are now. Where we're starting to see like the curve come back up. And then we'll see where the limit's going to be from now as we get closer to playoffs.
Can I tell you something crazy? You're probably not going to believe this fact when I tell it to you.
Is it in secret? Tell me in secret.
It's not that secret.
As in like right now. Leak it.
The Deadlock Cypher comp. I'm plugging my content in right here because I'm actually making a video on this on my channel.
Okay.
The Deadlock Cypher comp has a 100% win rate. Every team that has ran Cypher Deadlock has won their matches out of like 10, 11 matches that have been played with that comp.
Including VCT teams, right?
Yes. Tier 2 in North America, Tier 1 North America, and Tier 1 EU. Every team and across different leagues that has tried this comp with Cypher Deadlock has won their matches.
It's okay.
Is that not an insane fact?
That's crazy. What's your TLDR as to why it's so successful?
I think it's very oppressive. I think Turtle Troops might have actually just broken Valorant in their own weird way, and now everyone is realizing that it's actually sort of insane, dude. It's crazy. But yeah. Anyways,
okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us, but it was a pretty.
No, I kind of
nerd out about it,
dude. You know me. Every time the train derails, I have to try to bring it back. But at the same time, I'm kind of like down to ride like the chaos of this before we get back. So like, quick question for you then, because exactly. Professional yappers. It was going to be a 30-minute recording. Sorry, chat. Click the link below or whatever the story is later on if you want to watch the full show. Anyways, to go back to that question though, or to go back to your statement, I think it's a great statement to pull out and to see that yes, there is a 100% win rate, but to try to understand why, yes, it is very oppressive. It's good for a deadlock on the attack, and it's still good for both of their teams to hold on defense, and it allows for you to be more explosive. Right. But what about the changes now to Neon and to ISO, where Neon can now be your forefront to move around a lot and break walls and retreat more quickly? There's going to have to be some sort of new meta to counter already this new meta of this double controller, right? And I do agree with you. It's potentially not going to be like... Yes. Go ahead.
My take is that this comp is actually future-proofed. That is the craziest part. It already works well into the Neon, because Neon slides into the site, gets hit by a trap, teammates have to break it, or she has to break it, and then they get stunned. They can't even hit the site. And even if they try a second wave of utility to take further space onto the site, you're getting boogie bomb, crouch bombed by deadlock, and then you can just get walled off. There's just so much counter utility that the Neon comp actually doesn't even get value when it comes time to hitting sites. So like, is this actually the future? Are we seeing the future of Valorant before our very own eyes? It is a very good question, and I'm not trying to make it a bigger deal than it is, but I actually think Turtle Troops, Loki, or Dark Zero now, they have actually cooked. They have actually cooked a meta that is viable. It's cheesy and it's extremely versatile because you can either stack the gadgets together, right? Or you can spread them out and have double the coverage across the map. And neither of the Sentinels have a range restriction. So like the possibilities are literally endless. You can put gadgets anywhere.
That is also very true. That is also very true. I think
that was like weird.
That's what was making even Killjoy and Chambers so strong at the beginning, at the inception of those agents, where there was no range on the turret, no range on the alarm bot, no range on 2 trips on Chamber.
Yeah, on Chamber.
So you could just place them all over the place. Yeah, exactly, right? So you could really stack sites more aggressively, and I do agree with you. Actually, you're starting to see that if a deadlock is playing on one side on defense, there's more like a 4-1 on the other side too. So yeah, maybe you're onto something here. I think we're in an interesting part of Valorant in 8.11 where we're still trying to find which we're at a fork. So you have in the middle now, which you just mentioned, a double Sentinel comp, and then you have Viper nerfs. Maybe we're going to bring more initiators. So you have double initiator going through, and then now you have another one with a double controller that still stays pretty strong because you're still seeing some like Viper Harbor, some Omen Harbor, some Omen Vipers on certain maps like Icebox, or maybe now even a fourth lane with the ISO and the Neon. And especially now that you're starting to discover the real potential of what Neon could bring to a team and how very explosive you could get in the right hands. That's crazy. So this is going to be fun to watch when it unravels within the next couple of weeks until we get to playoffs of Challengers and playoffs of VCTs, and I'm freaking here for it.
Dude, I'm so here for it. Finally, actually very versatile meta. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. And I think it started well with Sunset coming out first, right? So yeah, that's nice little tangent. I hit the switch there. We're going back on the rail, right? Back onto the rails, back on tracks, and now we're going to continue to talk about the matches that just passed over at during week 4. And one of them is actually a huge upset that we got to go back into literally talking about the changes of the meta in 8.11. It's nice to talk about this SATA Esports upset against Moistex Shopify, which was dope because that Haven game with an ISO and a Jet. Dude, Ferbsa looked amazing on that ISO and how much value he brought to the team. Yeah. Talk me through this.
Yeah, so number one, I've been a huge fan of Ferbsa for a long time. Obviously, I was on a team with him, so I'm slightly biased. But I think objectively, he's honestly just a really good player, and he's very fun to be on a team with. And I think that kind of demeanor and that kind of confidence on a team can obviously elevate everyone. But that being said, more specifically about this matchup, from my POV, it felt like it was like a clash of old meta, like very old meta, right? Like Sova Fade is not a new thing. It's like double info initiators, double scans has been pretty popular for a while. And then obviously Shopify we're trying to pull it back into the Haven meta. But on the other hand, SAD Esports, they're kind of like on the Zoomer meta. Like look at their comp. It doesn't even make sense. It's like Jet, ISO, Sova, Astra, and then Deadlock as the only gadget sentinel. Seems kind of wild. Until you see the way they were playing it, which was like, dude, they were just rolling over map control. It was so free for them. Like they got what, 8 rounds on their attack side. Their defense also looked pretty clean. They were very aware of their gaps, so like they understood the fundamental flaws of their composition, and they knew what parts of the map were pretty exposed, and they were like hyper aware of these gaps, and they were like playing very well around it. So I don't even think it was a fluke, to be honest. I genuinely think that SAD, one, has actually found a roster that makes sense for them. Two, they're actually starting to cook, and Darkus is getting pretty comfortable on the IGL role. And now we're starting to see results like that, where I mean they took down Shopify in a 2-0. That's kind of crazy.
I totally forgot to talk about that when I was hosting that day, because I had to step in to talk about or to host that day, and I totally forgot that you had Darkus coming in as an IGL, and his numbers are still very good. So it's very nice to see that you're falling into this meta of the nice little storyline that the broadcast team likes to hype up for any league is the fragging IGL, right? So you're getting a little bit of that, but I also think that at the same time, him calling now unlocks Dip a lot more as well, and what he could do in terms of like, how can I support as a Sova around the utility to get the best value for my ISO and my Jet, and then if everybody dies, I'm still going to be able to clutch it for the team. I think he's gone to like 3 clutches on Haven at least, and then I think even more clutches on Sunset for the second map, right? So they're the team overall now. It's not a team that like exactly.
They're not thinking about which were 1v2s, by the way. That's crazy.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. It's like when you look 4 1v2s, 4
1v2s, bro.
There you go. Yeah,
that's kind of oh my god, that's I didn't even notice that until right now, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. It was sick. No. I mean, come on. This is a show. There's no apologizing. You cut over me whatever the hell you want. I'm just a yapping head, and you're the pro. But now I'm going to cut you. No, but needless to say, it's nice to see that from SAD Esports perspective, it's not about a team that's trying to think outside of the box and not finding success out of it, right? Because remember, last Challengers, last stage 1, that's when I think Darkus was coming out. Stage 1 or even stage 1, because Bob was still playing, and Darkus was playing like a Deadlock, if not mistaken, for Icebox. So you're trying like different things, but like it was maybe too early. Still trying to figure out the synergy around that. Box. But now. Exactly, but now they're still out of the box, but they're finding success out of it because they also have, we have 3 players from Northwood that reunited now into this roster, so that synergy is already going to be there off the rip. Especially when 100%. You added extra fragging power that we maybe potentially doubted Dip in the first place when he had to replace Bob. And now that Bob was gone, it's like, oh crap, there's a lot of firepower that's missed with her being gone. But now you have Dip that's unlocked, being able to clutch, and you have Ferbsa that's able to frag out on ISO and also a Cypher.
Yeah, did you see the Cypher on Sunset? 31 and 17.
Casual.
Like a casual 30 bomb and without OT, 220 ADR pretty much with 41% headshot. 41% headshot on Cypher. Like,
and against who?
Mata, Broctagon, Vic. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
We talk about these players as being some of the best in their roles in the region, not even just in tier 2, in the region. Like, these players are insane, right? And this guy's just making it. Comes out of nowhere, joins the team, stage 2. It wasn't even supposed to be a permanent pickup, I don't think. And then now he is, obviously. And
it has to be,
It's like, what?
Yeah. Which unfortunately now means that it means that unfortunately Alvin Boy is now even
he's
not mistaken off the roster. 6 men? Okay, so at least it's on the bench.
So.
At least it's on the bench, but if anything, we still saw a lot of value coming out from Alvin Boy, so I hope that he has an opportunity to, you know, get maybe some games in whenever the schedule might be screwed up, or has the opportunity now that he's played some games to show his value of, yes, I could frag out as a duelist, I could play roles as a sentinel, so I'm versatile, so pick me up, somebody, and then I'll bring value to the team. So all the best for Alvin Boy, and at least for SAD Esports with these changes. I won't harp too much about MXS though, because MXS this is a loss that they've suffered, which is unheard of on paper, at least when you're looking at the head-to-head matchup. But I don't think it's going to be like, oh my god, we have to be worried. So I'm just going to skip them because I'm sure they're going to be fine the following week. So let's go into the next game, which is Dark Zero, also known as Turtle Troop in the past, versus Blinn Esports. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to see this game, Roy. So please talk me through a little bit about this game.
Actually, Blinn came out kind of swinging, to be honest. Even the first map, although it was a 13-7 for Dark Zero, it was actually a pretty tight half, and it wasn't really until the second half that Dark Zero really ran away with the game. They got pistol and they got the bonus, and I think after that it was just kind of like there's way too much momentum. But what we did get to see, aside from like, you know, a kind of a cool first map, was Corey's debut on Neon, which he looked awesome in, by the way. He's definitely he's always had sort of that you know, the Overwatchy sort of mechanics, and I think Neon is kind of suitable for that sort of playstyle, like high sense, you know, high sense Overwatch player. I don't even think we can call him an Overwatch player at that point, because he's probably been playing Valorant longer than he's been playing Overwatch, but that's besides the point. But you know what I'm saying. And then the second map was extremely close, where we also saw Blinn running Neon as well, and the Neon comp won the second map. Yeah, they actually rolled it back a little bit. It's like old meta, but new meta. I don't know. It's like, I guess everything is cyclical, but they really brought it back on this map. Fade Breach also. And that was a 13-11 win for Blinn. And on the third map, it was just kind of like, it was just a bit of a sweep. It was a 13.
It was over. Ran out of gas.
Yeah, they ran out of gas. And not only that, but I kind of was a big fan of the Harbor comp on Icebox, but honestly, I'm starting to be a doubter of it. I don't think it's that good. I think what EG's trying to do with like Harbor Omen or Harbor Clove, I believe, I forget what they're running in, is much better than like the Viper.
ISO?
Yeah. I do believe, speaking of new meta, that Icebox is actually ISO's best map. That I do believe. But neither team played it. I'm a doubter of the Harbor comp, the Harbor Viper comp, double controller. It did not play very well into the double initiator KO, to be honest. And they just got sweep. It's not much to say.
Just to add on to what you were saying, though, ISO being a good map for Icebox, I do agree with you. Not only with what EG's been cooking up over the weekend, but if you've been watching also the other regions for the international leagues, this was actually pulled out by Talon even before EG did, with the exact same comp on Icebox when he played against Secret, I'd like to think, or RRQ. Sorry, RRQ. And yeah, I love the approach from both of those teams, from both EG and RRQ, or sorry, EG and Talon, is because they used the ISO a little bit more differently. ISO on the side of Talon for Ban, who was playing it, he was actually like shielding up and opping a lot and blocking down these lanes and using the shield to try to escape, actually. So instead of like a jet dash away or like a chamber TP out or like a or Euro op and TP away, it was I hold my angle, I shoot, if I kill or if I miss, I activate my shield and I run away so that I could actually try to survive and reposition through there. That was interesting on how they played it defensive on that side. For EG, though, you saw some cooler stuff. Sorry?
No, I'm agreeing. Keep going.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, and for EG, I won't necessarily say that it's cooler, but I like nerding over synergy, team synergy, and that's something that I always commend that EG does very well. But they combine a lot of the ISO walls and the Harbor utility to help you defend and defuse. Like, I don't know if you remember that round where they threw the wall out behind B site. So the Euro wall, the ISO wall came out, and then they threw a Harbor orb in that spot, and then started to defuse.
Yeah, there's just so much bullet blocking.
And the only thing that will block it or prevent you from diffusing is utility, which they still had on Loud side, and then Nature somehow just snuck in for a diffuse, but that's a different story. But at least the idea is there.
Players fighting.
Exactly. But last but not least, like if you want to add the extra layer to that composition, how you're playing those diffuses, that's why the Sova's there. Because the Sova could actually shock dart from kitchen or from backside at Snowman, land it on those post plant utilities, and then you have even more chances to get a diffuse through. So I think it's very interesting how you could cook around this ISO buff. And that's what we mentioned before. The ISO buff on the shield does not necessarily mean that he's just going to be a solo man fighting. He's also, like, just that one buff it adds even more to the already good value that he brings on the rest of his utility around the vulnerability and the wall. That's what we were trying to mention before. But he had no real value to get space because he only had one shield or whatnot, and you're already getting so much value off space making from a Yoru, a Jet, or a Neon at that point. Or sorry, Yoru, Jet, or Raze at that point. But
and on that point, I really do believe that Icebox is the map that you actually don't even need that much space, which makes sense why there's really no weakness of just running ISO. And beyond that, he's also an anti-tank blocking machine for the operator. So he just like walks into operators, no fears, and just tanks the first shot. And that's like typically the map that depends a lot on like the jet operators getting value, right? So like you're weakening that. And the final point for my ISO take on Icebox is that a lot of the vulnerabilities could be used to harass bomb planners and bomb defusers, or like spike planners and spike defusers, because they're just so easy to throw the vulnerability because you know exactly where they're standing, and you can just util dump them with shocks and double damage, which is kind of strong.
Yep. Very, very strong. And also Reyna good. So keep an eye out for Reynas on Icebox. And now we can continue on here and see what's up. I think there's only one more game during that day. It was the YFP versus Dobros. Also same day happening as DZ and Blinn. So I missed that. Fill me in.
Yep, I'll fill you in. Deadlock Cypher on Ascent won the match. 13-2.
Next.
Next match. Actually, we almost got a Deadlock Cypher loss with Dobros, but they actually locked Sage as their other Sentinel, not Cypher.
Oh, that's interesting.
Had they picked Deadlock Cypher, they actually might have gotten the first loss for that composition, but they didn't, so we'll never actually know.
Wait a minute, it did that with an ISO as well.
Yeah, they did. They tried to cook something. I don't know if they were cooking or not. They cooked. I just don't know how the meal tasted. And the second map was a 13-4
because they got 2 rounds.
Yeah, I actually do. To be fair though, I did like Dobro's comp on Haven. It was the Sova Breach Neon into the Deadlock. I just don't know. I'm not sold on the Deadlock solo Sentinel on that map, to be honest. The side made it look good, but I'm still pretty sus about it once there's like more anti-strat footage and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen even, I think, at the VCT level when we were playing some Haven, and if even just a Killjoy in the comp is a lot harder too with the nerfs that she's got to her turret. So you have to like place those a little bit better to get better value on middle, but if not, there's still great ways for the defensive side to push forward. And I think it's just like a habit kind of thing for a lot of teams. Like Haven is the best map and it's back, but maybe they've forgotten a little bit of how the defensive side could punish some angles that are not being watched by to rewatch our VODs and rework our strategies there.
Also,
so at least
you know who's back?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's my last point. Actually, yeah, that's true also. But Penny is also back. Fan went 41 and 14, plus 27 in the series, 225 ADR, and 10 and 0 on openers.
Wait.
10-0.
Okay, 10-0 is kind of sick. 10-0. Yeah. Actually, I do remember that he did a tweet, something like that, after the series, and he was like, hey, I'm back. Which was sick. It's nice to see the confidence coming back from Penny as well.
Also, keep in mind that this was, 15 plus 17. This was a 32-round game, so he got 10 openers out of 32 rounds, which means that 30% of the rounds he opened, pretty nasty numbers. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Hopefully you enjoyed.
What was a stat in Counter-Strike when we were playing 1.6 back then, Roy? It's like Midway was saying.
I didn't play that, Boomer. I did not play that.
Oh, you ain't that, Boomer? What the hell? You only started playing at Source?
I was so. Yeah. I started Source. I played 1.6 kind of casually, but nothing like crazy.
If anything, there was a very known prolific journalist in Counter-Strike known as Midway, Trevor Schmidt, and during the Scoutfrag days, he was saying the stat that if you actually get a first pick, you have 60% of the chances to win a 5 versus 4. Maybe it's different in Valorant because you have all these abilities and pistols and shorties and judges.
I don't think it's that different. I don't think it's that different, actually.
No?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close percentages, if I remember correctly. I don't know the exact numbers.
I guess it shows. it kind of shows with the results that we saw from YFP, though. Right? 13-2, 13-4. So maybe we're on the right track somewhere. And speaking of tracks, I don't want to derail again. So let's finish off here with the week 4 results and look at the standings to see what we got here towards the end here, Roy. So, yeah, things are looking pretty good so far. If you're looking at these standings, I mean, you still have 2 top dogs on each group, if I like to put it this way. Groups aren't really that important this time around, but you still have Oxygen Esports and Dark Zero at 4-0. And at some point, somebody's going to have to lose a game, right?
Yeah, that's actually.
And when is that going to happen?
Spoilers. This week, week five. Spoilers.
Yep.
No, when again? No, I'm sorry.
That's gonna be sick.
But no, yes, that actually will be a really good match. But honestly, on that point though, I do genuinely believe that as of right now, all that we've seen so far, I truly believe that Oxygen and Dark Zero are the top 2 teams in the league. They're the most consistent. They have great ideas. They remain flexible, and I imagine that Oxygen is going to be more comfortable experimenting with the meta as they get more comfortable with Neon. So I think both of these teams are positioned quite well for, 1, clinching a spot for playoffs, of course, and 2, to be considered the top 2 teams in the league.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken here at this point, where we got 2 more weeks of regular season, right? Week 5 and week 6.
Week 6.
So if you're looking at these standings, is there anything that pops to your mind to be like, red alert, we got to be careful for these teams? That might not make the playoffs is what I'm trying to get to. Sorry, to finish my sentence.
Yeah. I think TSM is in danger, right? I could be. I mean, I have to double check, but they finished the first stage with 4 points. They're not doing too hot in this stage.
I mean, they still won their last game, right?
Yeah, but that still puts them at a 2-2. You know, and like anything could happen going into week 3 or week 5, excuse me. So yeah. Also, the next match is against Moisex Shopify. Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. Both of these teams
and a hot YFP
and a hot YFP
in week 6. Damn. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one.
Dude, oh no. Okay. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at this really quickly too, TSM's a tough one to call, and then even Blinn is at 2-2 currently, so they go into stage 2 with 0 points. They're gonna need to like pull up a little bit more wins here for the last 2 weeks in order to have a chance to even make it into the top 8, and that's the top 8 that's gonna help you get to the playoffs here for challengers in North America. So there is definitely some moments right now, especially Winthrop University too. I mean, they were trying to cheese their way in week number 4, some victories hasn't panned out. Now, if they win their next 2 games, they're only at 3-3, so they're at the mercy of the other ones. It's gonna be squeaky bum time for, as we always mention, that rank number 4 to rank number 8 to see who's gonna make it through. That's why, like, it sounds like a broken record, but for these last couple of weeks, it could always be a 50-50 coin flip, or 50-50 coin toss for whoever is gonna be showing up for that day and whoever has a cheese that works, or just something that's just a standard, on paper it's gonna look bad and you still lost,
Also, Red Alert. The Red Alert is active right now for Core because they're 0-4 right now. The only team that does not have which is also super mega weird because they looked so good at the end of stage 1, and I was actually starting to even in the midseason cup they didn't even look bad. I was starting to jump on the Core train even though I was a bit of a doubter at first. And then now it's like they're the only team that's winless? Like what? That's also insane. Keep in mind that relegations are purely off the stage 2 standings, right? So like they could qualify for playoffs, but could also be relegated out.
I mean, if we haven't had a chance to pull those up now, let's actually have a look at it when we're talking about these points, right, and where people are currently standing. Because right now, as you were mentioning before, Oxygen Esports and Dark Zero are still looking pretty good at the top, and those red alerts that you're talking about. So TSM's at 4 points. You have Core that's 8 points, thankfully, because of what happened. At stage 1, and then you got red alert for Dobros as well, and for Winthrop, and that's the current standings. However you finish during stage 2 is going to give you an extra amount of points as well, which is going to determine your final amount of points and see within the top 8 who's going to move through. Which is why, like, if you're looking at TSM, it looks really bad on paper right now with their 4 points. But depending where they finish in stage 2 and the amount that is granted where they finish, which is supposed to be more points than stage 1, you may have a chance to squeak through. So that's why it's super important to put that at the forefront that you have to win the next 2 weeks here for all of these teams that are struggling to make it into the top 8 to have that chance.
For sure. I think as long as TSM places 5th to 6th, they should be chilling, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, I don't have the complete math, but I'm pretty sure. That's my intuition. But yeah, like Core is in a tough spot because they actually could technically qualify for playoffs, but also get relegated at the same time.
Which is crazy.
I
don't want to open that Pandora box yet.
Yeah.
Let's cross that bridge if we need to cross that bridge. If not, I'm swimming across. Yeah, exactly. So speaking of that, we might not have enough time. So let's go straight into our matches to watch here for next week and our predictions. So let's pull up the schedule. Going into Wednesday, we have MXS versus TSM and Core versus Sad Esports. On Thursday, Blend versus Winthrop. OXG versus Dark Zero, and on Friday we have Fluffy Aimers versus Dobros and YFP versus M80. It almost feels here, Roy, that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday there is a game to watch for each.
Yeah, I mean, I think both games on Wednesday are the game to watch as well. Thursday, obviously, like Blinn and Winthrop is kind of important, but it doesn't really dictate too much. But Oxygen Esports versus Dark Zero, again, these are the only 2 undefeated teams in the league. They're both trying to establish themselves as being the best team in Challengers is in itself like a sort of status, right? Like it is sort of like reputation in the streets, and to say. Obviously, the Fluffy Aimers versus Dobros is kind of important. Fluffy Aimers do need as many points as they can get if they want a playoff spot. Dobros are honestly in a pretty tough spot, so I'm not sure how much that changes for them. But YFP versus M80 is also a pretty important match because YFP is feeling really, really hot, and I feel like that matchup is going to be pretty sick, pretty entertaining. I'm pretty sure.
For sure. I think the Oxygen Esports and Dark Zero is just going to be like a how do you say it, a courtesy, just to know who's really at the top.
Yeah. It's just an ego match.
For me, are going to be pretty
just call it what it is.
Exactly. It's just a fun match to watch for sure. Yeah. It's definitely an ego match. It's definitely an ego match. If not, I agree with you. I think the MXS versus TSM, very important for TSM, but also very stressful for MXS if they lose that game against TSM, on Wednesday. So let's go ahead and go through those predictions and let me know your thoughts here, Roy. Who do you have if we want to kick things off here with the MXS versus TSM?
Oh, I feel like everything I thought I knew was true is not true. I feel like Neo from the Matrix. I'm getting unplugged. I had MXS as one of the top teams, and they've not looked great for their last 2 matches. TSM, they're actually starting to kind of pull things together. A part of me says more like Shopify, but a bigger part of me says TSM, so I'm going to go with TSM.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going with TSM.
Oh. Okay, hold on. If we had to go,
I've stumped you.
If we have to go into an alternate universe where MXS and TSM are going to play the meta, right? So let's say you have Sim on ISO and you have Mata on ISO, and then you have Sim on Neon and Mata on Neon. Who takes the upper hand out of that one?
Ooh, that.
Mechanically, like I'm putting you on the spot, so I'm going to stump you as well. So putting you on the spot, duelist versus duelist.
Wow, that's
who's going to get the firepower coming out of these 2 teams?
I think Mata is the slightly more flexible player, not by much, but I think Mata is slightly more flexible than Sim is in terms of like role flexibility and the ability to play Neon on a very, very high level. I just haven't really seen Sim's Neon too much, so I'm not sure where it's at. Like maybe they've been secretly grinding it, maybe he plays it in ranked. I honestly genuinely don't know, so it's hard to say.
Yeah,
but from my current projections in my brain are projecting out, I feel like Mata has the edge a little bit in the current like duelist flexibility.
And that's why I'm going to go against you, because if I'm thinking about a meta right now that promotes a lot of ISO and being your aim is going to be your primordial factor to make sure that you're going to get the best entries, then I'm going to have to give it to MXS, because not only can they leverage Mata potentially for that type of firepower, but the other roster of firepower that holds behind them, because you don't have one person just dashing in or one person just running in or creating that much gap of a space. There's going to be a lot of tradability comparisons or tradability opportunities here that needs to be converted on both of these teams, and I think MXS is going to take the edge for that one. Purely that on paper, I'm going to have to give it to them. Yeah.
I can't even hate with that. I can't even hate on that take.
Sad. There you go. We're split. We're split.
This is probably the hardest week of predictions I think we've had so far.
Yeah. I know. And sorry, chat, by the way. Roy and I are talking over each other a lot. I'm on hotel connections, so I'm kind of screwing up here. I'm screwing up our flow.
No, there's no flow being screwed up. We're doing just fine. I think my intuition says SAD Esports wins this one. It's going to be very close, 100%. Though. It's going to be very close. I just feel like SAD is like revitalized, and I think that like they see a glimmer of hope in the results.
Yeah.
And I think it's giving them a lot of life force, whereas Core is, again, the only team without a win at the moment. Getting that first is the hardest, dude. I swear. It is actually. Getting off that donut is the hardest thing. So like, there's like a mental barrier because like we have 0 wins. We need a win. And that desperation causes further dysfunction. Just like, oh, it's tough. It's just a tough spot to be in as a competitor.
I don't know why I feel like even if I want to go for SAD Esports, that on paper looks really good and how they revitalized, and unfortunately Core has been dipping a bit. It's almost like a law of averages that I don't know why it seems like DFM somehow is winning games over in Pacific when they're like 0 in like 12 in international leagues. Furia, by the way, was 0 in 6 before they got into the games against 100 Thieves, and they beat 100 Thieves.
Like, yeah, oh my god. So if it's madness out here. It's madness out here, Vince.
If I just want to go with what's weird and that's going on in the air, I might have to give it to Core at that point now. Throw everything away. Yeah. Throw away everything that's out. Throw everything out the window in terms of meta and who's looking good and who's looking great on ISO. It's just law of averages. Something's weird in the air this week, and Core's going to win.
I honestly, I don't even hate your takes. I don't agree with them, but I don't hate them because they're valid. So, yeah.
Expert analysis right there.
Wow. Okay, moving on. Match number 3.
Okay, so match number 3. Who we got now? It's Blinn versus Winthrop. Ooh, yeah. Who you got, Roy?
I think Blinn. Frick, man, this is a tough one. This actually is a tough one because Winthrop. I feel like they were just trying to cheese Oxygen last week, and that's not really like a massive show of their actual potential. But at the same time, Blinn just looks very comfortable, and Okeanos is a very flexible duelist at the moment. I know he's been really actively working on becoming more flexible. So I think Blinn just might have the small edge right here, just only due to like roster like time length and duration and more practice hours.
Makes sense. I'll go with you on that. Oxygen Esports and Dark Zero. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that one.
Okay,
I love Screwface and everything as well, but I just feel like it's too late for them to be able to turn it around.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Anyways, match number 4.
Yeah.
Oxygen versus Dark Zero.
Yep.
Wow. That is. I don't know what to think. I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm just like, I don't know, my brain is trying to compute anything of coherence. It almost feels like Dark Zero is slightly more flexible with their roles, like not in terms of like individual player flexibility.
Yeah.
Corey can like play multiple roles. They have like multiple players on the team that can play multiple roles, but so does Oxygen. But I think for some reason my brain is saying that Dark Zero is just slightly more creative, and that creativity is their edge. And I think they're playing very well together. And they almost caught the Org curse last week, which they avoided narrowly, by the way. I think they're kind of over the Org pressure, and I think they're chilling now. So I think I'm leaning. Maybe this is complete hopium, but I'm leaning Dark Zero.
All right, I'll go against you on that one. I think you're forgetting Scuba on multiple roles as well.
No, I've not forgotten. Trust me, he's insane. Right? That's a tough decision.
And no matter what, I think it's a win-win for me going for Oxygen Esports, because if Oxygen Esports wins, I look good. If Oxygen Esports loses, it's because I predicted for Oxygen Esports that it gives a drive for we did, and he's going to try to prove me wrong, just like week number 2, I think, when I predicted against them. Exactly.
This needs to be studied.
Win-win.
We need to have like a study paper on this.
Dude, I sometimes have
you always win.
It's just predictions this stage. Yeah, this stage's been good. This stage's been good for me for predictions. Don't count on me, Chad, if you're relying on my predictions. This is just...
It's not financial advice.
Point. Exactly. Zero. I don't have a degree in any mathematics to be able to help you out in your financial decisions. Now, the last day, though, we have Fluffy Amers versus Dobros. Let's start off with that one. I think this one's going to be a Fame win as well. Dobros...
They're in shambles.
We mentioned it at the beginning, right? Exactly. Unfortunately, too, because for me, when I was looking at Dobros and I saw that they were getting relegated and going to play-ins, they were looking pretty good from a bounce back, right? You could only go up from here, right? The good old caster saying, you hit rock bottom, you can only go up from here. Yeah, and then suddenly they're like climbing up the dark zone, right? And then suddenly like there's a little bit of mud on the wall and they're starting to slip a bit, so they need to somehow grasp back into like the crevices and climb themselves out of this well. But I think little Timmy's gonna fall down that well, unfortunately, in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. It's really sad too because they actually have Hayes coaching, so I think he does bring a lot, and they have looked better since bringing on Hayes. But something is just off about them. They just don't have that oomph. I think that they need to topple some of these teams. And even if they do figure it out, I think it just might be too late for them. So yeah, I'm just going fluffy aimer just for the memes at this point.
And this one, the last one, but not least, or are we going to get... I mean, at this point, I'm just going to call it an even game. No more upsets at this point because of what we've been talking about M80 over now, because M80 is still on the climb, and YFP is also starting to find their footing. So this is going to be a very interesting game to witness and to watch here between YFP and M80.
Yeah, I went first on the harder ones last time, so this is you this time.
All right. I'm gonna go, dude. I hate it because you know what? No, sorry. I was going to predict YFP, but I remember that I already submitted my predictions, so I'm sticking to my M80 call.
Wait, you're
no, but I think it goes back. No, it just goes back to what we were just discussing earlier on, though, where the team looks like they've found a sense of direction of where they want to head towards to, and they're finding good ways to scrap through a lot of these victories and like these 2-1 victories against their opponents. But there's still, gaps that we're noticing here and there when we're watching a game. And it's just people getting comfortable in the rules and people trying to get comfortable with each other still. It's looking really, not to say really good. It's looking a lot better than week 1 of stage 2. But it's still not at that level that we expect M80 to be at. And, it's nothing bad against the team. It's just, constructive criticism for what we were being able to watch in the past. But, I think we're able to see some good firing power coming out from Nismo and Kuala Lumpur once again. Okay. A little bit more consistency too. It almost felt like it was a little bit of a slump that these guys were hitting at the beginning of the stage, which is not the right moment to slump because you needed to get as many points as possible and the best standing as possible, and can't rely on just the points that you've gained in stage 1 and the mid-season cup, especially when you lost Nitro, John Cutie, and EU at this point. So now they're at a point where I think they're still going to be comfortable where this victory is going to put them mid-pack, 3rd place, something like that, and then game on. I think I don't feel that they have that much pressure to perform as YFP does, just because they have points that are being banked here from that stage 1 and MSC. So there is going to be some level of stress, but I think it's not going to be hindering their performances.
I think they have the most stress. I think I think the M80 name just carries like a certain level of status, and they just aren't living up to it. Like, despite their record not being terrible, like they are 2-2, and they are 2nd place in Group B right now. So like they're really not doing that bad, objectively speaking. But like, it just carries like a certain level of perfectionism and results that they sort of carry on their name, and I think that pressure is sort of possibly could be getting to them. Or you could be completely right, and they've overcome that pressure, and they're about to become completely new animals in the server. Exactly. It could go either way. But fun fact. Sorry, I'm going to say this. Yep. Fun fact. If it goes to Ascent, the Deadlock Cypher comp will eventually have its first loss right here, because both teams run the Cypher Deadlock on Ascent. Okay. So.
I was going to say, like, because M80 now runs it, they're going to lose it for the first time. I thought you were just going to try and trash them.
No. I'm saying the comp itself is going to have its first loss. But
makes sense.
I don't know. I feel like YFP just looks good. And they don't look like...
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
They're not like variant good. They're like good, and it's just like something about them. Their roles kind of make sense now. And there is one thing about M80 that sort of concerns me. Like, Koala can play multiple roles like Jet, Yoru, Omen, but he doesn't play the meta duelist, which is Neon, or at least we're moving into a Neon meta, and he doesn't really play her. I don't think he has a lot of reps on her. Unless he's been practicing it secretly. Again, that could be the case.
That makes sense.
In officials, they don't have Neon, whereas Penny has some matches on Neon. Yeah. So.
That's very fair. That's a very fair statement. I do agree with that. I think it's definitely a great call to go for YFP just on the statement that you put. I also just think that there is a possible way that going through the midseason that you're able to turn things around, you could make a deep run, right? Because
for sure,
if you're looking at 100 Thieves, if you're looking at G2, Leviathan,
bloomers,
I mean Leviathan still topped their group, but exactly, the teams that were late bloomers made it super deep into VCTs and even super deep in Shanghai. And I'm not saying like, oh, okay, it's correlation between challengers and VCT at this point, but you are seeing, a turnaround point for M80 where they've been facing so many obstacles week after week and finally finding consistency in shooting from your players, but also victories on top of that. That's going to give you a lot of confidence and relief just to be like, oh my God, I don't have to like try to my best to like drop 30 every single time, or like if I'm not hitting a shot, it's like, oh crap, here I am again, because now you find the confidence of I can shoot back and I have that consistency now. Missing one duel is not too bad because I know I could turn it around in a couple of other duels. So I think just because of that in the state, I'm just thinking from a mindset of these players, I think they'll be looking pretty good here to turn it around to move into a deep playoff run.
Wow.
So we're split on so many of these predictions for this week.
Wait, this might be the most controversy we've had as a duo.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Usually I'm the type of guy that always agrees, and I think it's something that Uber said about me like having a spine or something. No, I'm just kidding. No, just in general, I think that it's nice that we're able to actually agree to disagree on our predictions, and I think it's going to make it for a very interesting series to watch in an interesting couple of days. Yeah, exactly. Week number 5 is coming up here, and that's already starting on this Wednesday. So I think without further ado, Roy, I'm just gonna call it off here and tell you all here at chat to make sure that, I mean, if you're watching this as a VOD, because we most likely have been yapping for 45 minutes at least at this point, and if you've reached this point, it means that you've clicked on the link below to actually watch the rest of the video. So if you've missed those games, make sure you watch those VODs also on the Knights North American Challengers channel on Twitch and YouTube, just to watch those games and also see if we made any sense on our predictions and how we evaluated our teams going into week number 4. So Roy, any final words before I say goodbye?
There are no words, only love for Valorant. It's going to be a great week of matches, and hopefully we didn't put you guys to sleep. If we did, you're welcome. Otherwise, GG's. Until next time.
Never. You have a very soothing voice, Roy. So chat, thank you so much for your time once again. That was episode 10 of Spike Down, and we'll see you next week for episode number 11.